We will never, ever experience safe, reliable outcomes if people are not openly speaking and/or leaders are not listening. And that's when it hit me that this whole model of telling people to speak up, I'm like, I think this thing is broken. I found that crossing all contexts, and who have done many incident reviews, that it doesn't necessarily matter where we are or what we're doing. We'll look back and find these things called the uns. And the uns are actually, in complexity, one of our biggest challenges. Something was unseen, and just, if we had just seen it, we would have taken care of it. Something was unclear. We did see something, but we didn't know what it was, so we didn't handle it properly. Something was unstable. That just means that the variability showed up in a way that either the system or the people weren't ready for. I saw time and time again, things went unspoken, things were spoken and they went unheard, feet were dragged, processes were slow, we had an untimely event. And finally, and most interestingly, was how many were actually unimagined. And this is Barbara Dawson. Barbara Dawson died in 2015 in Florida, and her case gives us a painful but very clear insight into the process of sense-making. So that QR code actually links you to the actual article I wrote, which I think explains it in a really easy to consume way. All right, so the next video is the body cam of the police officer who was called to the hospital. He was called because the night before, Barbara had arrived, and here's our first category issue. Barbara said, I have abdominal pain. Now I wonder, where does your abdomen end and your lungs begin? And is there any overlap? So she was put into the category of someone with abdominal pain. They did a workup on Barbara, and by the next day, you know what they said? You're okay. And Barbara says, I'm not okay. And they're like, no, you're okay. So you're gonna go home. And Barbara said, I'm not going home. Her niece supported her. Once you're in the category of okay, but you won't leave, then you get shifted to the category of trespasser, and that's when they called the police. This is a shortened version, but I want to show you just how hard sense-making can be due to the mental model that we have created of the world. When you see the car door open in the back, this is from the dash cam, just know that at that point, Barbara had fallen to the ground. Okay.
You can either walk out of here peacefully,
oh my God,
or I can take you out of here. Are you her ride?
Don't say nothing. Oh my God.
It's time to go.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Hang your back.
I can't breathe.
You seem to be breathing okay right
No,
now.
I can't.
Please
Please.
put your hand behind
I
you.
beg you.
You're standing. Ms. Dawson, put your hand
Please
behind
stop.
you.
You don't make it hurt me like this. Why? I can't breathe. Why? I can't breathe.
Ms. Dawson.
Please stop.
You gotta
Ms. Dawson.
cooperate.
Ma'am,
She does, but
She
not
should.
make problems.
she should have left. She was asked. Can you get some men in here to help me pick this up in here? This one. Ms. Dawson, can you please stand up? There's no way to avoid going to jail.
She's 98%. The whole time she's here, 70 volts. Taken care of.
She's completely all right. She's fine. Ms. Dawson, I need you to get up, okay?
Ms. Dawson, get up. There's nothing wrong with you. And I know you can hear us.
Sit down. Can you call the jail and find out if they got a van I can transport?
Stop that there.
I got.
In the end, it took a full 20 minutes of discussion for the staff to realize that Barbara, in fact, was not faking, and she ended up dying that night of a pulmonary embolism that went to both lungs. So underneath that story was the fact that staff could not imagine that Barbara was not faking, so no one questioned, and the niece said, was questioning, but no one listened. And in this story, a life was lost. And in retrospect, it's easy to judge, right? My position is, and the reason I stepped away from high reliability directly, especially in healthcare, I said, you are never going to achieve your safe, reliable outcomes and deal with all the uns and the uncertainty and the unclear until you deal with the unspoken and unheard. But if we overcome these, all of those other challenges are going to get exponentially easier. So let's tackle these first. I'll put the big in the middle because it's a really big deal in complexity, and we don't even use the word. I really didn't use the word. So what is ambiguity? Anyway, it's when what you're looking at could have more than one meaning. And when you start saying, well, gee, how do we cope with ambiguity? The answer is you get diverse perspectives. So I said, oh, okay, diverse perspectives. How are we doing on the speaking up? And I found this. Big metasynthesis, meaning looked at, right, all these different research studies. Healthcare workers in the global metasynthesis perceive open communication as being unsafe and often ineffective. Oops. And if you want to talk about broader than healthcare, here's what I found. Next slide. 1 in 3 people say that their inability to speak up has cost their company more than $25,000. And worse yet, only 1% feel extremely confident voicing concerns at a crucial moment. It doesn't do a thing to address the factors that are driving the silence. Number 1, here's what your people are thinking. Well, if I speak, will I be helped or harmed? They're uncertain of the outcome. 2, I'm thinking nothing ever changes and I don't feel like it's my place. So until we change those thought bubbles, we will be stuck on our journeys. So the model that I've created is called SpeakingIN. And basically, I've just tried to align theory and research in a way that we can make choices that unlock knowledge flow. So SpeakingIN means that when you are the person in power in the room, and that shifts. So the surgeon, he may be the person in power at 10 a.m., but at 6 p.m. when he's in the boardroom, he's not the person in power. The valet at the hospital, when he's helping an elderly couple from the car, he is the person in power. Sometimes it's the nurse. When you realize you're the powerful person in the situation, you're going to take responsibility to be intentional about including, meaning bringing the right people into the situation, then specifically inviting, and then appreciating what you hear. We'll talk more about that. So I leave you with this question. What kind of conversation do you want to have at work? I hope that this talk today has helped you reconsider where you are, the quality of the conversations. When you go back, start looking at your meetings. How many times was a perspective invited? How was it actually handled? Was there a thank you? What was the body language when that information changed hands? And what might happen if you truly, truly, truly started learning what was really going on? Next slide. I'm going to leave you with this quote. This quote actually hit me from Managing the Unexpected, and I never forgot it. And here's our problem. People who refuse to speak up out of fear enact or create a system that knows less than it needs to know to be effective.